CFC syndrome. It's sadness and fear that brings those of us with CFC syndrome together, but hope that unites us. In the historical perspective of this syndrome, it's very in the new stages of history. Reynolds and others first described 8 patients with similar characteristics back in 1986. And those characteristics included a distinct facial appearance, ectodermal abnormalities, psychomotor and growth retardation, and cardiac defects. The natural history of this: in infancy, infants typically have normal birth weight and length, but most will develop feeding difficulties, which are often severe. Not all children, some do not, but many do. Facial features are suggestive of the diagnosis, but many show overlap with Noonan syndrome. Heart defects may be present, again, but not in all cases. In childhood, all will have some degree of delay, from mild to could be severe. Feeding difficulties and hypotonia tend to improve. However, growth failure is still very common. Seizures, if present, typically begin in childhood. Here are 3 of our young ladies from the last conference. And in adolescence and adulthood, little is known about adults with CFC syndrome. And because of this, I hope all of you that do have older children will agree to participate in the adult research program with Dr. Catherine Rowan. That's an extremely important project for all of us. Skin and hair abnormalities may improve with age, while nevi tend to increase in number with age. And the nevi are your little mole spots. There are individuals living now into their 30s. We are hearing about this. Most adults require additional assistance for daily living skills, but some may be able to live semi-independently. And they'll need continued monitoring through life for the heart problems. Management. Of course, most of you have come to us because of a genetics evaluation and hopefully gene testing. Complete physical exam, including growth assessment, cardiac evaluation, echo and EKG, neurologic evaluation, having brain MRI, EEG if seizures are suspected, and also ophthalmologic exams. Sometimes the kids need to be seen by a dermatologist evaluation. Nutrition and feeding evaluations are often sought. Psychomotor, which is your orthopedic development. Most of our kids have been seen by orthopedic specialists. Audiology examination to check for hearing loss. Endocrinology evaluation if growth delay is suspected. Abdominal ultrasound examination to evaluate for renal abnormalities. Back in 1996, there was no hope. This is a picture of Clifford at age 3, and on your right is a Clifford now, as some of you have seen throughout the conference, at age 20. At that point, we had heard of a handful, very small amount of scientists working on CFC syndrome, and they were pretty much not molecular scientists. Nobody at that point, I think, was really seeking things out too much for us. There was no research funding going on, and the only conversation we heard was this a unique syndrome or more severe form of Noonan? There was no central clinical information in the country where people were really trying to do a data collection on how many kids there were in the world. There were no treatment prospects, and there was really no place for families and physicians to go for help. This is CFC's original logo. If you're new to the group, we had called ourselves back then, we had 21 families that I knew of, and we called ourselves CFC Family Network. And our first mission was, our hope is for families to feel less isolated and more confident about raising their special child. That's what we began with, and we still today, that is still part of our mission, but we've expanded our mission to much bigger and better things. Today, we are moving forward with research projects, funding research, providing and distributing and producing more information, thanks to the doctors that meet with us and help review medical literature for our pamphlets and our parents' guide. And we, of course, continue to network the families. In the year 2000, we had our very first conference. And this was a picture from the very first meeting in Salt Lake City, Utah. As you can see, it was a small group. And at this meeting, we pulled together, we had people who were dedicated. Dr. Kevamura came all the way from Brazil when she heard about a meeting going on, and she wanted to be part of that meeting. And so we pulled together at that meeting a medical advisory board. We had people there from Salt Lake City that were rehab medical staff. They brought in local geneticists. And the other thing that was really important to me, we brought in the leaders of the Noonan syndrome group and the Costello group because we knew there was going to be an emotional meeting for families when they've been told their whole life that their child was CFC, and then maybe at age 10 to say, oh, you know what, we really feel your child is Costello or maybe Noonan. So we felt as support group leaders, we didn't want anyone to feel they didn't have a place to call home. And this first meeting was a key step forward for physicians in making a clinical diagnosis of the condition. In 2003, we established a paper registry. At that point, we weren't online doing things that we are now with our join button. We had data collection on our growing organization. We saw it became very crucial. We needed to find a way to track each and every CFC individual and set up files for future research. As this time in history, everything was just still such an unknown because we were collecting data, but were we collecting data on Costello patients or Noonan? We didn't really know, but we saw every person mattered to us, no matter what syndrome they were part of. In 2004, CFC International, the board met, and we decided that we were going to take our funding from the generosity of our families and their extended families, and we established our own biobank, along with partnering with the Genetic Alliance and 7 other rare disease syndrome groups. By then, our organization had grown to close to 100 families representing 9 different countries. At that point, we really revved it up. We became very serious with having a very active and dedicated board of directors. We had emerged, and everybody started taking on different roles and responsibilities with a commitment. And we also, at that year, changed from CFC Family Network to CFC International because we were really encompassing more and more families around the globe. A new logo was introduced as well. And this venture, and with having our biobank and funding this and advertising it, this venture captured the attention of researchers from around the globe. In 2006, the gene discoveries came along. The doors of science flung open for CFC International, and we were catapulted into a new phase. And I think the important thing for all of you to remember, when you're looking at research, it's not only what's going on in the lab, but it's also a partnership that we can drive the research if you're all dedicated enough to do this. And CFC International Board is dedicated to keep doing more and more research and funding more and more research. So by doing that, the researchers know that we're serious and we want to help move it along. They can't do it by themselves. They have to have active families participating. This photo is thanks to Dr. Catherine Rowan. This is the CFC cohort group that was part of the gene discovery. These were the kids that we knew when they were looking at the genes, whose DNA should we run and who would most likely come up positive. In November of 2006, this was our first scientific symposium in Potomac, Maryland. We obtained an NIH grant to host this, and we joined forces with Noonan syndrome and put together our 2 boards of directors, and these are all the people that have been dedicated to these syndromes through the years. In 2013, CFC has now funded our very first grant for research, and we funded it through the National Organization for Rare Disorders, and they advertised the grant, and they also have a medical advisory board that's reviewing the applicants, and I understand by November we will be announcing to you through the listserv and Facebook and on our website who will be awarded the grant. We don't have a say in the award of the grant, but we did have a say in advertising the grant and getting the word out there to many people. And the grant is for growth failure in children with CFC syndrome. And the reason why we chose this topic was we did a poll some time ago and asked parents what was really important to them. And we kept track, and this was the #1 topic at that time. Summary: CFC is a rare and extremely variable condition characterized by distinct skin abnormalities, unique facial features, and cardiac defects. The identification of 4 genes that cause CFC syndrome has sparked interest in the study of similar syndromes that share the same molecular pathway. Future research endeavors include additional genophenotype correlations, natural history studies, and cancer risk assessment in this population. And this is just a small sample of some of our greatest heroes out there. Passion and commitment are the key ingredients. And that has been what's been driving CFC and National, is having such a passion for this and a commitment to all our children. And our new, of course, mission is to improve the quality of life through family support, research, and education. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. It indeed is the only thing that ever has, by Margaret Mead. And here's the photo of all the people dedicated that were involved with the consensus meeting this past November in California. And I am so excited to tell you that this paper is just about ready to go into publication. And what consensus means is they all came together. They all had discussions, they all had homework and assignments to look up and research each area of the body, as well as some other characteristics, beyond just the medical. And they presented it, and they came and agreed that this is what should be published. And when this is done, we will then move forward with a brand new revised parents' guide that you will all receive. And you will then be able to take that to your physicians, and we'll put it up on the website so they can also print off copies. And we hope this will help you with insurance problems, trying to get special testing done, because then it's a really published paper by doctors, and that will lead to more help for all of you and carry more weight than us just putting an article together ourselves. Focus for the future. I have not told anyone what the latest poll results were. When I posted, 2 months ago maybe, on the listserv and Facebook, what do you want for the next research grant? And we are doing another research grant coming up in the next year. Here were your top 3 results in order of popularity. GI problems and how to deal with them. Epilepsy and what can be done to improve quality of life or eliminating debilitating seizures for our children. And the third possible research project is intelligence levels found within our CFC syndrome population. Thank you.